This is not all the commentators, because there were many great rabbis that would actually give over different commentaries on the Chumash itself, on the 5 books of Moses itself, but we can explore some of the rabbis, or some of the books that will commentate on the Torah. Now, the first one they would list, listing an English alphabetical order over here. Now, the first one is famous Abarbanel. Now, who was Abarbanel? He lived between 1437 to 1508. I believe we recorded video about his history inside this series before. He was a philosopher. He was a leader of Spanish Jewry of his time, obviously at the time of the Spanish Inquisition in the year 1492. And he wrote massive commentaries pretty much on the entire Torah, respectively. The next commentator, you could say, that was a grandiose commentator on the Torah was someone known as Aderet Eliyahu. That was a book over there. That was a commentary on the 5 books of Moses. I think it was written actually by the famous Rabbi Vilna Gaon. Rabbi Eliyahu ben Shlomo Zalman. He lived between 1720 to 1797. So a few hundred years after the Barbanel, respectively. The next commentator we want to speak about is a famous Agadat Bereshit. Who's Agadat Bereshit? This medrash on the book of Bereshit, on Genesis, and compiled from earlier sources around the 10th century. So I'm not too sure who the actual key rabbis were within regards to that. Now, the next one, a popular commentator on the Chumash, is Ahavat Yonatan. Who is that? That's commentary on the weekly Haftarot by Rabbi Yonatan Eibshitz. He lived between approximately around 1690, I'm not sure the exact date, but seemingly passed away in the year 1764. He was from an area called Metz in Prague, in Czechoslovakia, and Altona, if I'm not mistaken, and one of the leading rabbis, obviously, of the 18th century. Next rabbi we have to speak about over here, we're going now into Spain territory, the Akedat Yitzchak. He was a philosophical, homiletical commentary on the 5 books of Moses. His name was Rabbi Yitzchak Arama. I'm not sure if we actually recorded a video on him, but he was very, very famous in his day. He lived between 1420 to 1494. He was obviously one of the main rabbis of, let's say, 15th century Spain. The next one, Rabbi Akiva, he died around 138. He was one of the leading Tanaim. Obviously, we know he was martyred by the Romans. The next commentator we should speak about over here is the famous Al-Sheikh. Who was Al-Sheikh? He was a very great commentary. He wrote on the Tanakh, the Torah, Nevi'im, and Ketuvim. And Rabbi Moshe Al-Sheikh, to give his full name. Seemingly, he was born around 1508, passed away towards the end of the 16th century in the year 1593. He was a Dayan, and he was one of the rabbis of Tzfat during its golden age. And we've recorded the videos of the great Tzfat Rabbanim, especially during the time of the Arizal, respectively. Another famous rabbi who gives over various commentaries, which is actually cited here, is the Alter of Slobodka. Who is he? Rabbi Natan Tzvi Finkel. He lived between, was the head of the famous Slobodka yeshiva and one of the giants, let's just say, of the Lithuanian Musar movement. I think there was his discourses, as they are collected in Or Hatzafun. Very, very interesting enough. We're not going to list all the commentaries over here that's listed, but we're going to try and list some of them. Then there's Aruch HaShulchan. Let's say Rabbi Natan ben Yechiel of Rome. He lived between 1043 to 1103. He was famous medieval dictionary compendium. He was a Talmudic literature by the 19th century scholar Kohut. I'm not too sure much about him. Okay. Then another famous rabbi, Rabbi Shlomo Astruk. Who was he? He was also a commentary on the 5 books of Moses. He would write. He is cited very much by the famous Barbanel of Spain and also the Sforno. Okay. He is believed to have been martyred in the Spanish massacres of the year 1391. Now, another great rabbi. The Avnei Nezer, who was he? He was the Rabbi Abraham Borenstein of Sokachov. He lived between 1839 to 1910. He was a foremost Hasidic rabbi and a Torah scholar of the 19th century, and he frequently, let's say, cites the Shem Mishmor, the great book in of itself, and the discourses of his son, which we're going to talk about. Now, another commentator, let's just say, within regards to this, is the Rabbi Yonatan. This is one of 14 so-called minor tractates, a collection of Braitot, which forms a commentary to the Mishnah tractate Pirkei Avot, respectively. Okay, so let's continue the rabbis. Another great rabbi we actually recorded a video on at the time of his Hilula, Rabbi Avram ben Harambam. He lived between the years 1186 to 1237. He was only about At the time he passed about 51 years of age. He was a successor to his illustrious father as Nagid at that point in time, or official leader, you could say, and chief rabbi of Egyptian Jewry. He wrote commentary on the 5 books of Moses, on the Pentateuch, in Arabic, interesting enough, and he was of which only the sections of Bereshit and Shemot, I believe, was actually survived over there. Now, another great rabbi of commentary, another great book was the famous book. I've tried to move the place. Now, Yosef, or who was Bet Yosef, Rabbi Yosef Yosef, or who was Bet Yosef, Rabbi Yosef Karo. He lived the years 1488 to 1575. He wrote on the Code of Law, the Arba Turim, which I mentioned about before. He was also the author of the Kesef Mishnah, the commentary on Rambam's Code, something we've spoken about before. Then another great book, I believe, that was written, who we've got to mention about here, is a famous Bechor Shor. What is that? It was a commentary on the Torah by a Tosafist named Rabbi Yosef Bechor Shor. He lived between 1140 to 1190. He was a Talmid, a student of the Rabbeinu Tam. And another great rabbi who we've got to mention about over here, the Be'er Basadeh. He was super commentary on Rashi's Torah commentary and the super commentary of the Mizrahi by Rabbi Meir Benjamin Menachem Danon. He happened to have been the chief rabbi of Sarajevo, of Bosnia, in the earlier parts of the 19th century. Now, friends, everyone that's joining in over here, we are exploring who are the great Bible commentators in rabbinic history, Jewish history, the great scholars over here. So please subscribe now to the channel. We have got loads of great Torah and biblical content over here. So much great compass there. And now the Be'er HaGeola, everyone will have heard of him. It was a work composed by the famous Maharal of Prague. He lived between 1526 to 1609. He would explain certain agadot, which, let's say, seem superficially, it's actually listed here, seems to contradict science. Now, another great commentator is a rabbi named the Be'er Mayim Chaim. He was a commentary on Rashi and on the Torah itself. He was Rabbi Chaim ben Betzalel. He was a chief rabbi of Worms, the older brother of the Maharal, interesting enough. Then another great Torah commentary was Be'er Mayim Chaim, also once again in the same book, but this was from a different author. There was a commentary on Torah by the Hasidic master, Rabbi Chaim of, I think, I hope I pronounce his name correctly, Rabbi Ktsernowitz. He lived between 1760 to 1818, respectively. Another great Torah biblical commentator is the Be'er Moshe. He was a Hasidic commentator on the Bible, or let's say by Rabbi Moshe Yechiel Halevi Epstein, and he lived in Osarov between 1890 to quite recently 1971, more recent commentator. Another great one, the Be'er Yitzchak. He happened to be a super commentary on Rashi's commentary on the Bible. Rabbi Yitzchak Yaakov Horowitz of Yaroslavl, I believe. He passed away in the year 1864, so that's very, very interesting. Another great rabbinic commentator over here that we have to mention is Rabbi Obadiah of Bartanura. He lived between 1440 to 1516. He was a leading rabbi in Italy and in Jerusalem. He was author of the very popular commentary on the Mishnah and commonly referred to as the Rav or the Bartanura. He was author of the Mar Nekeh, a super commentary, let's say, on Rashi's Torah, a Torah in of itself. So, friends over here, everyone that's tuning in at the moment, this might end up being a 2-part series. We're exploring who are the great rabbis that write commentaries on the Bible over here of yesteryear. So please, everyone that's tuning in, please subscribe now to the channel and join our community, where we're an online encyclopedia of the great rabbis of yesteryear in these places. Okay, the next rabbi we're speaking about is Rabbi Bunam of Hitka, I believe, I hope I pronounced his name correctly. He would live between the years 1765 to 1827. He was once again a Hasidic rabbi from Poland, especially in the early 19th century. Some of his teachings are collected in Chedvat Simcha Kol Simcha. Very interesting stuff. Then Rabbeinu Hananel died in the year 1055. He was a Rosh Yeshiva and a rabbi of the Jewish community of Kedron in North Africa, over there. Author of the famous Talmudic commentary and commentary on the Bible, which is quoted by Ramban, Rav Bachya, Rabbeinu Bachya, and others. Then the famous Chatam Sofer, which is interesting. I was speaking to a descendant of the Chatam Sofer just yesterday during Simchat Torah, which is interesting enough. The Chatam Sofer Moshe Sofer was his name. He lived between 1762 to 1839. He was a rabbi of Pressburg and a leader of Hungarian Jewry who led the battle against reform at that point in time. Maybe that would be an interesting class of itself. Then the Chazon Ish, Rabbi Avram Yeshaya Karelitz, great rabbi, Lithuanian scholar. He lived between the years 1878 to 1953, and he spent most of, I think, his last 20 years in Bnei Brak, interesting enough. He didn't necessarily hold an official position, but he was known as one of the 4 leaders, let's just say, of world Jewry. And he would write various different works on the Talmud and Halacha. Then another great rabbi of a book called the Chidushei Harim. This was the works of Rabbi Yitzhak Meir of Ger or Gur, you could say. He lived between 1799, right at the end of the 18th century, to 1866. He was a founder of Ger Hasidim and one of the outstanding great Talmudic scholars, let's just say, of his era. Then another great rabbi, the Chizkuni. Who was a Chizkuni? That was commentary on the Bible by Rabbi Chizkuni, another famous rabbi of his time. He lived in the 13th century. And very, very great rabbi. Another rabbi that's quoted, and especially on the commentaries of the Torah, is the Chafetz Chaim, and Rabbi Yisrael Meir HaKohen of Radin. He lived between 1838 to 1933, author of works of Hashkafa, of Halacha, of Musar, and obviously the foremost leader, let's say, of his time of Jewry. Then, okay, now let's explore some more of the great books. The Da'at Sofrim, what is that? That's a contemporary commentary on the entire Torah, Nevi'im, and Ketuvim, Tanakh, as we say, excluding the 5 Megillot. It was noted by a famous biblical scholar and lecturer, Rabbi Chaim Rabinowitz, who was born in the year 1911. Okay, now the Da'at Tevunot. What was the Da'at Tevunot? It was a work of religious philosophy in the form of dialogue between the soul and intellect. Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, who lived between 1707 to 1746, he was a great Kabbalist, he was a poet, he was an author, and has the famous book called the Mesilat Yesharim. So he's a key figure when it comes to biblical commentaries. Another book is the Da'at Keinim, which is quoted a lot. Commentary, collection of comments on the Bible by the Tosafis of the 12th and 13th century. I'm just going to say a blessing over here. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech shekol yeh bidvaro. As you can see, we're seeing various different rabbis here from both Eastern Europe, different parts of Europe, and from North Africa and from the Spanish territories and all over here. The Degel Machane Ephraim, he was a Hasidic commentator on the Bible. Rabbi Moshe Chaim Ephraim of Sudilkov, he lived between 1748 to 1800. Famously, he was a grandson of the famous Baal Shem Tov. Then another, okay, so that's interesting. Then the Divrei David. Who's the Divrei David? It's a super commentary on Rashi's commentary on the Bible by Rabbi David ben Shmuel Halevi Levi, or Rabbi David ben Samuel Levi. He lived between 1586 1667. He was known as a Taz. We see him in the Code of Jewish Law. After his commentary on the Shulchan Aruch, that is actually quoted in the Magid. What is? Yes. Okay, everyone, sorry about that. Just a connection went over there. We're doing a live video just exploring some of the history of the great rabbis of yesteryear that write commentaries on the Torah, Nevi'im, and Ketuvim, respectively, over here. So sorry about there was a connection cut. So many of you were watching live, and many of you would have probably left over the last few minutes. But let's continue, friends, over here. I'm just going outside of the sun at the moment to have just a better angle over here. So, friends, everyone, we're exploring who are the great rabbinic thinkers of yesteryear that would actually contribute and write commentaries on Torah itself, the Torah, Nevi'im, and Ketuvim, as they call it, the Tanakh, also respectively. So we're doing a special edition over here. So I'm just going to take a seat, just at this angle, and hopefully we'll progress and continue. We were speaking about the famous Rabbi Feinstein just a minute ago, so we will continue within regards to him. There's still a sukkah over here, right next to me, because we just came out of the Jewish festival of Sukkot just yesterday, but we've got probably about another 10 more minutes where we can enjoy speaking about this. So Rabbi David Feinstein, another great rabbi, he was a great commentator of the Chumash. He was Rosh Yeshiva of Metivta Tiferet Yerushalayim, one of the great contemporary Jewry's foremost halachic deciders, and some of his comments on the Torah, I think, are collected in the famous Kol Dodi. Now, another great rabbi was Rabbi Moshe Feinstein. very well known. 1895 to 1986, he lived. He was the Rosh Yeshiva of the Miftifta Tiferet Jerusalem, once again, and in New York City also. He was a leading Hasidic decider of his time, and let's say foremost leader of Jewry, author of the Igrot Moshe, was a response, and the Dibrot Moshe, which was studies on the Talmud. Some of his comments on the Bible were collected and published as Darash Moshe, respectively. Another famous rabbi commentator on the Torah was Rabbi Hirsch Goldworm. Who was he? He lived between 1937 to 1993. He was a great Torah scholar of his time and contributing editor, apparently, to this volume over here, which he very much contributed, I assume, to Art Scroll. The Gur area, this is super commentary on the Rashi's Bible, commentary by the Maharal Prague, who we mentioned about before. He lived between 1526 to 1609, respectively. Amek Adabar, he was a commentary on the Bible once again. Rabbi Naftali Tzvi Yehuda Berlin, he lived between 1817 to 1893. A Rosh Yeshiva, the famous Volozhin Yeshiva in Russia, also known as the Netziv. Now, anyone that's tuning in at the moment, we're exploring who were the great rabbis that contributed to the Torah. Just some of the commentaries used from the Stone edition here. Please subscribe to the channel now for great Jewish wisdom content over here. We'll really appreciate it, and join our community. So please subscribe, hit the subscribe button now. Really appreciate it. Now, next commentator we're speaking about is the famous Hadar Zakenim. This was a work on Torah containing commentaries by 11th and 12th century Tosafists, including the Rosh, Rabbi Asher ben Yechiel. Then another great commentator is the Haktav HaKabbalah. Well, this was a comprehensive commentary on the Bible by Rabbi Jacob Tzvi Mecklenburg between the years 1785 to 1865. He lived about 90 years. Also chief rabbi of Königsberg in Germany, demonstrating how the Kabbalah of the oral tradition derives from the Ktav over here, the written text of the Torah. Now, another great commentator who we've got to point out is Harachasim Lebika. This was an 18th century commentator on the Bible, Rabbi Yehuda Leib Shapira, very great rabbi of his time, also known as Loeb Frankfurter, he is, respectively. And he was great uncle, in fact, of Rabbi Shimshon Raphael Hirsch. Another great rabbi, Rabbi Wolf Heidenheim. He lived between 1757 to 1832. He was a philologist. He was a biblical scholar. He was a liturgical scholar also. And famous for accurate editions of the Chumash, Siddur, and Machzorim. The author of the Havanat HaMikra, a great commentary on the Rashi. So, and now obviously we can't not mention Rabbi Shimshon Raphael Hirsch, or some people will call him Rabbi Samson Raphael Hirsch. He lived between 1808 to 1888. He was about 80 years of age. He was rabbi in Frankfurt, Maine, and a great leader of modern German Jewish orthodoxy. Battler once again against reform, like many of these rabbis were. Also many works, including 6-volume commentary on the Torah. And Rabbi David Tzvi Hoffman, he lived between the years 1843 to 1921, a leading German, let's say, Dekisor. He headed the Orthodox Rabbinical Seminary of Berlin, which was between the years 1899 to 1921. And he was author of many different commentaries, works, especially in German, on the Torah. Then another great rabbi we spoke about on this series before, Rabbi Yosef ibn Kasbi. He lived between the years 1280 to 1340. He was a philosopher, a biblical commentator, and grammarian. Among his works include the Mishnah Kesef, a commentary on the Torah itself. Another great rabbi, Rabbi Avram ibn Ezra, another rabbi we've spoken about before here on this channel over here. He lived between 1089 to 1164. He was a biblical commentator and a paitan. He was a poet and composed classic commentary on the Torah. Famous once again for great grammarian work, linguistic analysis. Everyone tuning in at the moment, we're exploring the history of great rabbis that wrote commentaries on the Torah. Please subscribe to the channel, please, and enjoy the fantastic Torah Jewish wisdom content we've got over here. Next one is Geret Teiman. That was Rambam's famous letter, which was to the Jews, urging them to remain steadfast in their faith in the face of false messianism at that stage in times. And the Igrot Moshe, obviously we've got to see Rabbi Moshe Feinstein within regards to that. The Imrei Emet, this was a Hasidic discourse on the Torah. Once again, another great Torah commentary by Rabbi Avram Mordechai Alter, the third Gerer Rebbe. He lived between 1865 to 1948 and was the leader, let's say, of Polish Jewry in his time. Another great rabbi, the Imre Shefer. Who was he? This was commentary on the Torah by Rabbi Shlomo Kluger. He lived between 1785 to 1869. He was rabbi of Brody, of Galicia, one of the leading Torah scholars of the 19th century. Another great rabbi, Rabbi Yosef Kafich. I'm not too sure if he's still alive or not. He was born in the year 1917. He was we're not too sure, but I know he was a famous Israeli Yemenite scholar. He was a translator. He translated many of the Arabic works of the Rishonim into Hebrew, including specifically a new edition of the Rambam's commentary to the Mishnah with an extensive commentary. Now, another great book, Rabbi Kaflo Verach. What's that? Famous work on the history, geography, and halachot of the land of Israel. Rabbi Eshtori Hafarchi. He lived between 1282 to 1357. He was a famous student of the Rosh over here. So that's very, very interesting. Now, another great rabbi, Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky. He lived between 1891 to 1986. He was a rabbi of an area called Tzibet. I hope I pronounced this correctly. Tziveian in Lithuania, and he was a rabbi in Toronto also. He was a Rosh Yeshiva of the Mitivta Torah Vadat, and he was a foremost thinker and leader of Jewry. His comments and discourses on Torah were published in Emet Liakov book over here. This was, let's say, Iyunim B'Mikra, respectively. Another great commentator is the Kavanot HaTorah. This is, let's say, an introductory essay to the Torah by Rabbi Obadiah Sforno, discussing matters, purpose of narratives of the Torah, let's just say, and certain commandments and the tabernacle. So that's very much interesting. Anyone joining in at the moment, we're exploring some of the great commentators, like an index of the Torah itself, respectively. Please subscribe once again to the channel and join our community. And we've got 129 people watching live, which is, we don't usually have that many people. So just please do me a favor and smash that subscribe button now and join our community. And we're growing really quick. We're trying to get to 7,500 members in the next week. Let's see if we can do that. Another great commentator, friends, is over here. The famous Kedushat Halevi. This Hasidic discourses. Rabbi Levi Yitzchak of Berditchev. He lived between 1740 to 1809. He wrote commentaries on the Torah, on the Chagim, on the Talmud, on Midrash, and Pirkei Avot. Okay, the Ketav Sofer, who was he? We've mentioned him before in this series. It was a title of response to collection and of the Torah itself, of the commentary of Rabbi Avram Shmuel Benjamin Sofer of Pressburg, 1815 to 1879, the son and successor to the Chatam Sofer, one of the great rabbis of his time. Now, another great book is the Kitzur Mizrahi. It's a bridge version of the super commentary of Mizrahi, respectively. And this was by Rabbi Yitzhak HaKohen of Ostrava, of Moravia, the Kli Yakar, another great commentator. He lived between 1550 to 1619. He was the Rosh Yeshiva of Lemberg and the Rabbi of Prague in his time, one of the leading Polish rabbis of the early 17th century. Now, another great rabbi lived between 1785 to 1869, Rabbi of Brody in Galicia. Which is very, very interesting enough. Who was he? He was, let's see over here. He authored numerous works, one of the leading Torah scholars of the 19th century. He was. Then the Kolbo, a famous late 13th, early 14th century halachic compendium. Another great rabbi who would write commentaries over here on Torah was Rabbi Avram Yoshua Heskel Kopichinitz. He lived between 1888 to 1967. He was a famous Hasidic rabbi in his time of Galicia in Vienna, in New York. Then another great book called Korban Aaron. This was a basic commentary on the Sifrei by Rabbi Aaron ben Avram ibn Chaim. He lived between 1545 to 1632, respectively, in Morocco. We've only got like a couple more minutes over here, so we'll keep going. Rabbi Aaron Kotler, another great rabbinic biblical commentator. He lived between the years 1892 to 1962. He was a Rosh Yeshiva of Kletsk in Poland and the founder of Beit Midrash Gavoa in Lakewood. He was a foremost leader and a propounder of primacy of Torah. Rabbi Menachem Mendel of Kotsk lived between 1787 to 1859. One of the Hasidic rabbis, he wrote Emet Vilmuna in Ohel Torah, in numerous works of his disciples. We're going to do three more rabbis here, and then we're going to end this part one of it. The Kuzari. This was a basic work of Jewish religious philosophy in the form of dialogue by Rabbi Yehuda Halevi, nearly between 1080 to 1145. Medieval Jewish political poets in Spain. He was one of the famous ones. The Lekach Tov. He was Rabbi Yaakov Yisrael Beifus. It was an anthology of Musar and Hashkafa writings, arranged according to the Torah weekly readings, respectively. And Rabbi Aryeh Levin, who was Rabbi Aryeh Levin, he lived between 1885 to 1969. He was also known as acclaimed by the religious and non-religious Jews in Israel as a tzaddik of Jerusalem. We've spoken about him before, we recorded a video about him. He was famous as a voluntary chaplain to leper hospital and to Jewish political prisoners in British Mandate of Palestine. So we're going to continue hopefully on the Magen Avraham next. There's a lot more to cover. This is just the first part of it in this special edition where we are exploring the different rabbinical biblical commentators of yesteryear. So we're just going to speak over here because we've got many people tuning in at the moment. We've got a staggering at the moment 143 people live at the moment. So please, everyone, subscribe to the channel. Sorry about that, just connection went over there. We are here and we explore many different things connected to the old famous rabbis of yesteryear here on this channel. Covered, friends, here on this series. We've written about nearly 1,350 biographical videos of great rabbis from yesteryear, from all over the various different vicinities. We've spoken about great rabbis, especially we try and explore the history of the rabbis from great countries such as the Ottoman territories, North Africa. We try and explore the Asian countries. We've even started speaking and learning about great Ethiopian rabbis here inside this series. So it's really going from strength to strength. It's very exciting what we're doing at the moment. I'm just going inside my car. I've got to pick up my son everywhere. Now, friends, everyone, join our community and subscribe to the channel. Why? Why subscribe? There's so many reasons why you should subscribe, friends. We have amazing Jewish wisdom, like uncomparable. We explore the history of great rabbis of yesteryear. We explore on this channel the history connected, let's just say, to the great rabbis of not just of yesteryear, of different places. We also explore the history of what were the great synagogues in past times, in the, let's say, the North African countries and those different vicinities and stuff. Not many people will speak about that respectively. We explore what different Talmudic academies that were of yesteryear, especially in those territories, the Asian territories. Also on this channel, we do tours all over Israel. We try and explore very much biblical Israel, different parts of Israel. We've done tours all over Jerusalem. We've probably recorded about more than nearly 200 tours already inside this series of this fantastic country of Israel, and many reasons why people should join and enjoy and learn and get educated. We also do short clips over here on this on our community here on this channel, where we have exciting things on Jewish wisdom we'll speak about and educate on. A burst of inspiration, let's just say, in of itself, where really would energize the day. We've got different great Jewish personalities of modern day, or Israeli personalities, to share over bursts of wisdom every day we have, and we try and put in. We've recorded with about nearly 550 great rabbinic personalities here of modern day, and how important it is actually to get all these great rabbis to actually contribute to our fantastic channel and our fantastic work that we are doing at the moment. And we're doing so much more. We also will record a video on the Parashat Shavua on a weekly basis. We also do another exciting project on this channel, friends. We do a short tidbit on the Talmud every day. There's a cycle called the Daf Yomi cycle, which people are learning all over the world, especially Jewish people are learning the whole time. And what we do is we learn about different aspects on the daily page of wisdom, and we try and connect it also to modern 21st century ideas over here. That's another thing that we're trying to work on over here, and really succeeding, by the way, because a lot of people have a lot of huge interest within regards to this. Yeah, I'm just leaving the car now also, friends, and just got to get the key, and just actually recording this here in Israel at the moment, in the city of Bet Shemesh, Ramat Bet Shemesh Aleph to be precise. We are recording this, and just a minute, friends, over here, just get to see some of our action of someone in the car in Israel, which is not that common, only one of the only places you do it. And what's also exciting about, friends, about this series over here, which we are doing at the moment, is it's personality behind this series over here. I try and make let's just say, everything as exciting as possible for the modern 21st century listener. We try and get great Jewish wisdom, so on and so forth, and have how important it is actually to actually bring about, great wisdom, great thought, and Jewish pride. We also, friends, speak about current events in Israel. That's another important topic that we're doing. Obviously, it's been a turbulent time recently. We've come out of 2 years of war. Thank God our hostages have returned, or the living hostages. We pray, obviously, that all the bodies will return also ASAP at the moment. So I'm recording this at the time. It happens to be the day after Sukkot. It's also known as Isru Chag. Today it's a day after Sukkot, so it's also a joyous time. It's an extension of the Jewish festival of Sukkot at the time period I'm recording this at. So obviously it's a day of happiness, of joy. And remember, at the moment, yesterday was Simchat Torah and Shmini Atzeret in Israel, still in the diaspora. It happens to be a festival. It happens to be Simchat Torah today. And so people in the diaspora will still be keeping, obviously 2 days of Chag, but here in Eretz Israel, it happens to be 1 day of the Jewish festival over here. So very, very interesting. We learned about great rabbis of yesterday. Let's just explore a bit within regards to the streets of Israel. You go with me for a walk for a minute and enjoy some of the sights and scenes of Israel. Look at the beautiful trees, the fantastic country of Israel. We're so thankful. We've got to thank Hashem. We've got such a beautiful country, friends, over here. Nothing like Israel. Nothing like Jewish wisdom here in Israel, and so on and so forth. Friends, if you like looking at the streets of Israel, subscribe to our channel now. We have loads of different tours where we tour all over biblical sites of Israel, the different amazing sites of current year, of yesteryear. We like to travel, do journeys. We can travel together, friends. We go explore the different great synagogues, the different great archaeology over here. They say that every 4 steps you walk in this fantastic country of Israel is a mitzvah. That's what the commentators say over here. And very, very exciting. We plan on doing a lot more videos, especially on the Parshat Shavua of great rabbis and so on and so forth. So it really is awesome. Just breathing the air of Israel also is a breath of fresh air. Check out parks of Israel, friends. Look how beautiful it is. Look how beautiful this country is, friends. Got a beautiful park down here. This is in the city of Bet Shemesh. Over here. And amazing. Watch out for the part 2 of the... We're going to do a part 2 of the video of the great Rabbinic biblical commentators. If you go on the Stories of Tzaddikim section on our channel, you will see a list of all the rabbis that we've actually recorded about so far on the series, biography videos, mostly once again from Middle Eastern or Spanish or Ottoman places or North African places we speak about mostly inside this channel. So everyone, thanks for watching. Please subscribe again to the channel. Just asking you one time again, if you could please subscribe and hit the like button at the moment. I really appreciate it. And enjoy. I'm wishing you all an Isru Chag Sameach. Thank you everyone for watching. I appreciate it.